Hello, it's Donna Joy Asher coming from my author land, and today I'm out in my Zen den and I am world creating. And what I'm world creating for is my new series, the Demon Bounty Hunter series. So I'm at the phase where I actually got the covers designed first this time to inspire me to write. And I've got this amazing 3 covers that are designed, and I am trying to build out the world and the story arc for the whole 3 books before I start writing. Because I don't want to get to book 3 and have something that I need in book 3 that I should have put into book 1. So because when you're world building, you really need to build out a world that the readers buy into from the very beginning, and they can understand. It's like creating a structure for them that they're existing in, and you need to hold them within that structure for the 3 books, or for the whole series, or for whatever you're creating. And so the last thing you want to do is get to book 3 and then introduce some sort of new thing into the structure that sort of jolts them out of the story and makes them not buy into your world as much, because that's going to lead to reader dissatisfaction. So I'm doing a few things. I'm creating characters. I'm creating, what it is. So when I say creating characters, it's not just saying this character, but it's actually like giving them 3-dimensionality and fleshing out the character. So for instance, my main character, Mel, what is it that causes her? What is she unhappy about? Because she has to be unhappy about something to do what she's going to do within this book. So this is what I'm doing. And I always start when I'm writing. I find one of the greatest ways to stop any sort of writer's block or anything is to go for a walk before I start, and to start to let stuff just play around in my head, almost like I'm adding ingredients into a pot and just letting it all stew. And normally if I'm already in a story and I've already created the arc and I am already writing, then I'll go and I'll think about what I've written up to that point, and I'll just let the story start to play out and the characters start to talk, and I'll let what I'm about to write start to already work, so that when I sit down, it's already happening in my head. It's like the process has already begun and now I'm just trying to catch up with it. So with the story arc, I've been out there just asking myself questions like, well, why and what and how does that work, and how to, trying to tie it all in. So far I've got, Demon Bounty Hunters. It's about a witch, Mel. It's a world where there are witches and other supernaturals living amongst humans, but the humans are not aware. So it's a world where the humans are not aware that any of this other world exists. The witches are quite long-lived, so there's that element. How do they do that? How do they manage to grow hundreds of years old within a community and have people not realizing it's happening? And then there's the whole magic. How does the magic work? What is the structure of the magic? What can they do? What can't they do? How do I make this believable? And then there's so that's all like in world building, but then there's on top of that, it's like, well, then what's the story that's going to happen within this world? So all these things are what's going on in my head, and what is she going to do, and why does she do that, and how does this work out? So far I've been also at the same time, and the thing I love about the creative process is how it all comes together, how you can take stuff from other things and bring it into what you're doing and make it relatable. So I've actually been reading a book on quantum physics, and I was, starting to story build and think about the magic and how it worked and where did it come from and what did it feel like. And I was reading this book on quantum physics, and I learned about the 0-point field, which is basically, and any physicists out there are going to crucify my description of what it is, but this is how I understand it. And I will go back and reread it when I actually start writing to make sure I've kind of got the concept down pat. But it's basically all the space, all the air around us is full of like photons and electrons and neutrons and all that sort of stuff. And there's so much energy capacity within it that apparently just 1 cubic meter of space of air, there's enough energy capacity within there that it could boil all of the oceans on the earth if we could work out how to tap into it. So that's what the 0-point field is, and there's like heaps of scientists out there trying to work out how to extract energy from the 0-point field in such a way. I mean, imagine if we could tap into that in real life, we wouldn't need, if you could tap that into running your cars and your house and everything, we wouldn't need fuel, we wouldn't need fossil fuels, we wouldn't even, need to be using solar. We would just be able to tap into the 0-point field. So in my book, that's how the witches get their magic. They're able to tap into the energy of the 0-point field and channel it, and then use it. So obviously, I mean, that is something like the strength of the witch's mind as to how much power she can control, because if there's enough power in 1 cubic square meter that could boil all the oceans in the world, then you can imagine like if a witch was overwhelmed, like what that would do to her mind, basically. So that's where I'm going with the world at the moment, moving into that. How does that work? So they tap into that, and where does it go from there? I've got my character Mel. So Mel is unhappy because the strength of a witch is determined not only by her ability of how much power she can channel, but also her physical strength. So it's like a play on E equals MC squared, where energy is the energy that they can handle comes from their craft, with the C, but also their mass, so their muscle mass and their strength. So even though she is a witch who's able to channel an incredible amount of power, because she's not as strong as a male, and can never be as strong as some of these big men that are witches, she can't actually handle as much workload. So for instance, when they're with these demons, because they're basically, the premise of the world is that they take these demons back who aren't meant to be here. So there's almost like a visa system, the demon underworld, and demons can come through. Not all demons are evil or bad. A lot of them are, but they can come through and spend time on Earth, either holidaying or conducting business, because there's a very big social trade between the two worlds, conducting business, but then they have to go back when their visa's over, or if they break visa by doing something they shouldn't, like eating a human or something like that, then the demon bounty hunters come in, hunt them down, and then take them back. So how big a demon, how strong a demon you can handle is like influenced by this E equals, it's going to be CM squared. So the craft by the mass cubed. So it's actually, interestingly enough, it's this strength, because they need to be able to contain this demon, both with their mind and like it's also to do with their mass, to be able to take them back to the area where the portal will take them back to the demon underworld. So she's unhappy because she's an incredibly skilled witch. She's very competitive, and she can never bring in the big demons, who obviously is where the big money is. And that is what sets off the chain of events, which is going to lead us into this series. So I've been creating her, what is it that makes her tick, what is she unhappy about, why does she choose, but then also like what she's going to create out of this. So she's basically going to magically create a way that she can handle bigger demons, and of course it's the fall off from that. And then what is it that pushes her to that point when she's actually desperate enough to do it? What is it that triggers her that she's actually going to go out and risk making this thing that could potentially destroy her in the making, that is going to, you know, what is it that makes her mad enough or passionate enough, or like gives her enough emotion that it seems like at that point in time it's her only option. So what is it that's going to cause her to create this thing? In the book one is called The Making. So she creates something to help her take bigger demons back. So that's where I'm at. It's a pretty fun point to be. I've got lots of holes still, obviously, in the story, and the thing I'm struggling with at the moment is she's obviously going to create a different portal system that she can use. So rather than the portal system that the demon bounty hunters have to use, that's been created for them, she's going to create a different system. And I need to really nail in how is the normal portal system works, and what is it within the magical world and quantum physics and the elements of the earth that's going to enable that to work, so that she can make something else that's going to be able to do it without her strength needing to be involved. And while I was walking this morning, then I came up with and then there's like a negative thing to what she creates that's like going to, you know, be bad for her as well. So I need to now nut that all out. So you can see it's not just, there's a lot of plotters out there who have to plot out every single thing that happens. I'm not like that. I do need to know my story arc. I do need to know the confines of the structure in which I'm going to work. I want to have the rules basically laid down, and I like to have my characters, my main characters, and what it is that's driving them forward, and main story arcs mapped out before I start, and then all sorts of stuff goes down. And that's where the fun happens with writing, because it's almost sometimes like when you're writing a book, it's almost like you're reading it, like stuff just comes out and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And then, oh my God, what happens now? And it's such an interesting process. And sometimes stuff comes out where you're like, yeah, no, delete, pack it up. That doesn't need to be in there. And then you change direction. But when you've got your main story arc in there, then you can do that. You know when you're going down a dead end, and you can back up and go somewhere else straight away, rather than getting to some point where you've got writer's block because you don't know where to go, because you actually don't know where you're going. So for me, I'm not a total plotter, but I'm also not a pantser. I don't like to just start writing, because I have found that the times that I have done that, my books have taken me a very long time to write. Fairy Revenge was totally pantsed. I kind of knew what was happening at the end. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but the rest of the book, and I had this I didn't want it just to be the whole book to be just stuck in a war, because I've read books like that and it kind of gets boring. So I knew that I wanted to create something else, and I ended up creating a parallel universe that she went to while the whole war was developing, and that was totally pants. I didn't actually plan that, so it worked out quite well. It was obviously my creative urge just responding to this desire that I had just naturally. But it took me a year to write that book, and it is a big book. But if I had had it plotted out from the start, it wouldn't have taken me so long because I kept getting stuck and I kept having to back up and go over stuff and rewrite. So I don't want to do that with this series. I want to write these books, be able to write these books quite quickly for you, get them out there. I'm very excited about them, and I'm really excited about this new character, and I am, you know, depending on how this goes and how it ends, there probably will be more stories, maybe either set within this world or for Mel, or for maybe other characters that come forward. So at the moment I've got, today I'm going to just write a little bit more of what I fleshed out this morning on the whole world premise, and then I want to do some work on the characters. So at the moment I've got Mel. I've got a twin sister for her, which at the moment her name is Lisa, but it's spelled with a double S. I've got their grandmother. Their parents are both dead. I have got her human partner. So Mel is actually a police detective. That's her job in the human world. So I've got a human partner for her to flesh out, and I've got a little demon that works with her, because she and her grandmother actually create a lot of their strength and magic is creating a lot of the tools and stuff that the demon bounty hunters actually use. So they have little demons that help them with that. And I've got a little demon who is her sidekick called Inky. So not really her sidekick, it kind of like works with her in the lab. And Inky came to me when I was trying to work out how it was that she was going to create this thing. And Inky is like almost like a test lab. a lab rat. Inky's almost like a lab rat that works for them and with them and gets to stay in the human world because he has a job with them. But he's a little bit, yeah, he's a cute little character. So I'm going to flesh out Inky a little bit more, Grams, and then there has to be some strong male demon bounty hunter, maybe a couple of them, because they're going to be what drives, and their arrogance is going to be what drives Mel to do what she does. So something, I have had a few ideas of what's going to happen that creates her to get desperate enough to prove that she is as good as them. And that's really what it's all about, right? So that's where I'm at. I hope that wasn't too rambling for you. I hope that you're finding this interesting, this process. So yeah, I'm going to start doing, build up my characters today. I'm actually going to do them in Airtable. So I normally used to do them on paper, but then in this move into this new apartment, I found all these bits of paper that had all characters on them, and I was like, okay. And then for the Chanel series, I kind of transferred it all into Scrivener. I'm using Scrivener to write, and they're all in there. But then I'm like, well, what happens if my computer dies and I use Scrivener and lose all my notes? So I've started using a software program called Airtable for my business stuff, for my online business stuff. And I'm going to start using that to build out my characters so that it's there, it's safe, and if my computer dies, I've still got it all. So that's my plan today. Just keep going with this is my Demon Bounty Hunter book. Do you like it? I went with leopard skin for this one. So you can see I make notes. I like to sit here and just flow through and write notes out. And then I'm going to get onto the computer and actually start to build out my characters. Anyway, hope you found that interesting. I will keep coming back and touching base with you as I'm working through this process, letting you know how it's going, and letting you know what I'm up to. And I will see you in the next video.